Now, public revenue in Nigeria has dwindled over the years and is highly susceptible to external vulnerabilities because of the country's dependence on oil revenue. In a bid to diversify more sustainable sources of revenue, the fiscal authorities have shifted focus to tax revenue, which has historically been low. Nigeria's tax-to-GDP ratio, which currently stands at 6.1%, is significantly lower than the 16.5% average for 30 African countries, which has become a recurring feature in policy discourse and interventions towards charting a sustainable pathway to fiscal resilience. However, analysts are of the view that it is not tenable that tax revenue can be improved because of the population size without a connected improvement in the business environment and general macroeconomic stability. Joining me via Zoom today to give insights into how government can, of course, increase its revenue generation in order to boost tax-to-GDP ratio is a senior economist at SPM Professionals, Mr. Paul Alaje. He joins me via Zoom today. Mr. Alaje, good afternoon. It's good to see you today.
Good afternoon, and thank you so very much for having me.
Yes, let's start the discussion very quickly. Tax to GDP at 6.1%. I've heard this for as long as God knows when. Is there no improvement at all? Why are we always, it's always 6% year in, year out? Let's start on that note.
Well, there has been improvement when you look at it nominally, but when it comes to comparison, it appears that there has been no improvement. Recall that our GDP has also grown, and we have witnessed an increase in GDP immediately after the recession ended. It also means that tax authority are doing their best possible within the realities. What we don't want to discuss are the realities that have kept our tax to GDP permanently low at single digits. So until we are able to solve those challenges that surrounds the difficulty tax authority are having, and the truth is that I doubt if tax authorities alone can solve some of the challenges that we have. We need a structural solution for us to come out of the shackles of low revenue as we have them today. So it's not that it has not improved. When our GDP was low, we were at 6%. So 6% of 100, that's about 6. But when it got to 200, that's about 12. So, but it is 6% because we are comparing a new amount. So it's not that it has not improved at all. It has improved. The challenge is that it's only growing at the rate at which the GDP is also growing.
Beautiful. I like that clarification. Many have said that we don't have a debt issue, that it's a revenue issue, and government is trying so very hard to push taxation is the way to go. What is your assessment of this move by government? I was with some tax professionals in Abuja earlier in the week, and they're saying that Nigeria can do better than what the FRS came out with for last year. That's about 6.4 trillion naira. They say we can do better than that. What's your reaction to this?
Under normal circumstances, we should be doing more than that. But if they are faced with the realities that FRS is faced with, then they may even do worse than that. Now, as a macroeconomist, I would say that a population that has the largest poor people in the world, you should not be surprised that you are not getting as much in taxes. So on one hand, you want to have the largest number of poor people, but you want to have the best tax. It does not work. So the people have been impoverished. The people are living, quote and unquote, not really in prosperity. So in an environment where taxes are high and the GDP is equally high, then you may be talking about having more revenue because the population is really high. And people have said, oh, maybe we don't pay taxes at all in Nigeria. The truth is that people pay taxes, but they are not formal. For instance, I don't know about your people that are viewing this program now, but I can tell you that some persons are using generator to watch this program. And if you ask in their homes, it may be that they have also provided boreholes for themselves as against having water corporation that I grew up to know, which of course is gradually disappearing in many subnational in Nigeria. You may also want to ask that the road that they have, it could be joint community efforts. Now, when people who are relatively low-income earners or some that are well-to-do are provided this. It is just economics that some of them, even though they will not evade tax, but they may find means of avoiding to pay taxes. So that's a major challenge, major conversation we are all faced with. And on the other hand, government need this revenue. And if you want to ask, we're looking at borrowing huge amounts of money in 2022 budgets. And I'm talking of federal government now. We also have different states that will be borrowing different amounts of money. And as we speak, we are inching gradually towards 40 trillion naira debt stock. That is worrisome, isn't it? I think it is. So when you have a budget of over 16 trillion and you are borrowing significant proportion of that budget, what you'll be borrowing and what you'll be getting from oil, when borrowing surpasses oil, then you wonder, is the oil a blessing or is it a curse? Is the debt now the blessing? If debt is taking the first or second position as a single component, then your worry is as good as mine. So when people say debt is not a problem, I can tell you, if the money is free, if it were a grant, I would say it's not a problem. But it becomes a problem when you follow me very carefully. Number one, you are going to pay back. Number two, all the monies that you have borrowed in hard currency, as of between February and April 2021, the Central Bank of Nigeria announced that the value of naira has further appreciated due to wire transaction, the pressure on naira and high demand. Naira came down from about 319, I guess, to above 400 naira at official window. What happened? Approximately 1 trillion naira was added to our debt profile. You heard me correctly. 1 trillion naira. We did not borrow extra money. It just happened that because we devalued, our debt profile also increased. Why? Because we devalue the money we borrowed in hard currency. And this is not my figures. Follow the figure released by the Debt Management Office and do the numbers and you see the difference. So debt is a major problem. Again, revenue is also a concern. It's a concern that when we have a civil service, that the mentality, and this is beyond FRS, by the way, I'm talking of a structural and an institutional problem, that the mentality with which we run civil service is different from private sector. Then you know that FRS is even doing our best as we have it today. So the method and the way with which we generate revenue is completely different from the reality of how it should be done, from the reality of what we have seen today. Knowing fully well again that the population is also very poor. So when you look at all of this together, and if you ask me if I'm surprised, I will tell you I am not at all.
Great stuff there. Well, Mr. Paul, what about the argument of the formal and the informal sector, bringing the informal guys into the tax space so that we don't overburden those that are already paying tax, just as government continues to, focus on taxation?
Our capacity of bringing them on board is a huge challenge. So if you look at Lagos around K2 and you see people running POS, people running, these informal guys, car wash and all of those things, now they are paying one form of tax or the other. You see local government officials approaching them and asking them for pay here and there. The question is, are these payments formalized? Are they getting to the vote? Okay, Lagos State government is doing something. If you beat traffic or so, they ask for your tax identification number. These are genuine ways of bringing more people into tax bracket. And I think generally what we need to do is to become more innovative.
Innovative. So technology will be part of this. And we also saw that technology was part of what, according to the FRS, made them get to the point that they got to in 2021. They are talking about new measures, talking about technological advancement. So do you also think that technology as key in improving tax revenue?
It is key because I'm sure that you must have booked a ride online before. If you have booked if you have booked a ride online, how much taxes was realized to state or federal government from that ride? So a lot are going on, and we already have technology. That is why our choice of leader must be those who understand how technology works. You cannot make so much in an environment you don't know how it operates. It's going to be a big challenge. And this is one of the reasons why, as 2023 approaches, those that are politicians among us, their campaign must go beyond vote for me and I'm going to give you a bag of rice, or vote for me, I'm going to give one or two things as promises as usual. We want to hear conversation around technology. We want to hear conversation around quality of life. We want to hear conversation around quality of money. These are things that can make us compete, and in fact, and indeed, we generate more revenue for federal government and also make our people become prosperous almost at the same time.
Mr. Paul, when people pay tax, many are always of the fact that they also need something in return. It's a social contract. So they want something back, of course, from government. Like we always say, and you've also alluded to, Lagos, you see it on the road, taxpayers' money at work, and you are happy about it, at least to a level. You can commend the state government that I can see part of what my money is being used for. What is your assessment with regards to the fact that money is being made? How well utilized are these funds? Someone sent me a message yesterday and said, when they saw this topic, they said, is it right for government to use tax money to build roads? That it should be PPP and all of that. What do you make of this?
Well, absolutely. Tax money is not wrong to build road. The question is, will it be sufficient to build road? Because of our reality, while we encourage more people to give birth to more children, I said we encourage because we have refused to make laws against that. I think with laws, we can control our population. Nigeria and Saudi Arabia are the two countries that have been projected to have the largest number of growth rate, even in the next 5 to 10 years. While Saudi Arabia is planning our economy, I wonder if what we are doing in Nigeria is planning at all. Now, we may be faced in 20 to 30 years with population explosion because we continue, we have huge number of unemployment, and they said an idle place is devil's workshop. When an unemployed persons find one or two women, what do you think they will be doing together? I don't know, but your guess may be as good as mine. So when you have that on one hand, you now have a situation where government is generating small revenue compared to the capacity or potentials, I beg your pardon, of the country. So we are not generating enough. Now we need a lot of infrastructure because population is increasing. And as population is increasing, even though people may not be able to buy car together, but they want to be in smaller buses. Now we don't have sufficient coastal buses, quote and unquote, or mass transport system. It's not effective at all. Maybe only Lagos or one other state is managing to put a mass transport system in place. And I'm happy we're now looking at rail, or state is also getting into rail business. Like federal government has been doing that effectively in Abuja, Kaduna, and Lagos, Ibadan. I'm happy Lagos State is also want to play in the game, and I hope that Ogun State will partner with Lagos up to Oyo State so that we can reduce the pressure on our road. So innovation again might not just be in technology, but for leaders of subnational to understand that the future really is not going to be which party do you belong to. We are talking of the same people. So public-private partnership will come. I've seen National Development Plan. Government is saying that over 80% of money to be spent will be coming from the private sector. So if private sector will be bringing a lot of money, it will be exactly on what? Will it be on road, which of course has been noted? It will be on rail, which is another thing. But we now need to plan and find that connection from state A to state B and so on and so forth. And the future really is that private sector will rule, because we need to decide, do we want to be a market-driven economy or we want to be a planned economy, quote and unquote, I mean a socialist economy? Because we seem to be in a confused state. One moment, we are seeing government laying claim and says he want to implement
Mr. Paul Alaje. Well, technology there. Let's see if we can reconnect with Mr. Paul. Okay, I think let's see. Let's try to reconnect and see if we can still get him. We still have 2-3 minutes for him to wrap up on the show. Very interesting conversation talking about tax to GDP and how this affects Nigeria, particularly at this time where government really needs money from taxation, non-oil space. Because one way or the other, the price of crude, that volatility in that market is not something you can joke with. Anything can happen at any time. But with taxation, you're sure of where you're headed to. You're sure of what you can recover or what you can get, at least to a high level of, or certainty. Let me use that word. I don't know if we can still get Paul online, but if we can't, then maybe we. Okay. All right, there. I think we've had it from Mr. Paul Alaje, who is a senior economist at SPM Professionals, who joined us via Zoom to shed more light on that topic.